Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Alissa, Coram, and Justin Nielsen here. And Justin, give us a rundown of the notable stocks we're going to be taking a look at today.
There were so many to choose from today. A lot of very good action in a lot of the leaders, but you have to narrow it down to a few. Otherwise, we'll be here forever. So we'll go ahead and talk about Activision. We'll revisit Teledoc from last week and also take a look at Okta.
Okay, but first let's take a look at those major indexes. This is a chart of the Nasdaq, which finished today up 1% for the session. Although we did see a little bit of selling into the close of the day, coming off highs, but still strong gain of 1% today. The S&P 500 gaining about 0.5%, and the Dow slightly lower today, down 0.3%. Can you believe, Justin, that we're already halfway through the year?
Yeah,
the last couple
really,
of months have flown by.
It really snuck up on me, and I was just talking about this with some friends, just to think about what was going on at the new year, how long ago it seems like the assassination of Soleimani, the Iranian general, that was the big news, and how much has happened since then. And even impeachment just seems like so long ago. So it's definitely,
so much. This year has been filled with headlines. Yeah, it's kept us busy.
Well, and on the headline front,
looking at the action,
on the headline front, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is something that was really on everyone's minds today. Pfizer really helping that one kind of take an early jump. But as you said, it faded throughout the day, and my point here is I just want people to know, look, as much as, media often talks about the Dow Jones Industrial, the leader here is clearly the Nasdaq Composite. That is the one that is almost back to new high ground. Again, it got to new high ground first. It's the one that got above the 50-day, 200 uptrending. Everything is looking just so much better with the Nasdaq Composite. So when you're looking at the stocks where you want to be in, the Nasdaq Composite is definitely showing the leadership and deserves more of your attention. The Dow Jones Industrials, again, that's 30 stocks. It's price weighted. There's a lot that can kind of go weird with that index, but it's clearly still below the 200-day. This is the laggard. So Nasdaq is where it's at. And we had a lot of stocks. I was talking about this before we came on. I mean, Netflix, was up a significant amount. Square, Roku, a lot of the big tech names, Shopify, huge gains on those. Amgen, big move on that. So there were a lot of big movements in a lot of these leading stocks that we've been looking at for quite a while.
Yep, exactly. While they may be extended now, these are names that have been on our radar all the while during this rally. But let's take a look at some potentially actionable names, starting off with Activision, ticker ATVI, gaining about 3% today, Justin, and above average turnover. It's been flirting with a breakout to some new high ground here out of this 76 area. What stands out to you about the move today?
Well, and this is sometimes you have to be patient. It's not fun, but this did actually kind of break out above that flat base level, and it just felt like it didn't go anywhere until today. Today, now this is a marked difference in the action. This was an outside day. That means that today's low was lower than the previous day's low. The high was higher than the previous day's high. So this was very strong action in Activision today, and it's still in that buy range. You can see that on pattern recognition from MarketSmith, it's shaded in blue. That kind of lets you know where it gets extended once it gets out of that blue shaded area. It's still in that area. Very strong day today. So this is one that if you hadn't gotten it earlier, as it broke out, this is actually kind of a better looking chart now than it was.
And we know that with the stay-at-home trend, this is yet another beneficiary indirectly, with a lot more people playing video games. So, and the forward-looking earnings estimates are looking promising. So that's definitely why it's earned a spot on our radar.
Yeah, and I mean, again, just you can look at some of the numbers that we have. Relative strength, that's at 88. The relative strength line is very close to new highs. The EPS rating is a little bit light on this, and you can see that it does have kind of a little bit of a spotty earnings record, and the sales haven't been great. So this is one where you're doing a little bit of the story. This isn't our typical can slim thing. So you're playing a little bit of the story here. And as you mentioned with coronavirus, gaming is something that a lot of people are are doing while they're staying at home. So, that's what you're playing on this one.
Yes, and another coronavirus play is Teladoc TDOC in that telemedicine group, a gain of over 4% today. Now, as you mentioned at the top of the show, this is a follow-up to us highlighting it last week with it flirting with a breakout over that double bottom entry over the 196 area.
And the thing that I was talking about last week was that, this was having a nice orderly pullback. And, at the outset, I should say that I actually bought some shares of this myself today. We did put it on leaderboard, but I want to say, hey, look, I gave you guys first chance. I brought this up last week, and it was having a nice orderly pullback. So yes, you can wait until it gets back and kind of breaks out of this handle. Or when you see strong action like this, where it's kind of breaking a downtrend, if you just kind of, yes, exactly, you just match the tops there, and you can kind of see that this was a little bit of a downtrend today, was definitely breaking that downtrend. So it becomes an inflection point, that what was a short-term trend is now being broken and could potentially turn the other way. And so that's one of the things that we were looking at on Teladoc Health. It actually joined leaderboard this morning as well. So I had to wait until half an hour afterwards for that into my own account. So.
Exactly. Yeah. We're playing it the right way here internally. All right. And last but not least, let's take a look at a name out of the security software group, and that is Okta, OKTA, hitting a new high today, over 5% gain in above average turnover. So now clearly above that 200 round number where it had been kind of hovering around, clustering around lately.
Right, and so those century marks can be very important psychological levels. It just so happens that a lot of stocks will kind of hover around that area, and then when it finally kind of moves above it, it can continue going higher, and what might have been kind of a ceiling for it becomes a floor. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out here is, for those of you that have been, very familiar with our chart reading, you might be looking at this and saying, oh yeah, this kind of looks like a cup with handle. It's too short to be a cup with handle. But with swing trading, a lot of times what we're doing is, because we have a shorter time frame, we're only planning on holding a lot of these stocks for a few weeks rather than a few months. So sometimes we will use shorter bases as entry points for some of the stocks. And that was one of the reasons why we did put Okta on Swing Trader this morning. So, as it was kind of crossing the highs of the last couple days, we put it on, and that's kind of the way we look at it. We can look at these shorter consolidations, but as a position trade, we would look at this and say, hey, this base is too short. As a swing trade, it's something that becomes playable here.
Yeah, and nice to see that relative strength line at new high ground, and it's really, didn't even touch its 10-week line even along this run. It's held up really well, as have a lot of growth stocks that have really just been hugging that 21-day line along the climbs.
It's been remarkable. Again, a lot of these, as you mentioned, haven't even really kind of tested the 50-day moving average or the 10-week moving average line. So, and this is one that's in a group that's doing well. You mentioned the coronavirus plays. Of course, one of the things about working from home is, you're going to need security for your computer as you log in, VPN in, what have you. And so Okta, as are a lot of the stocks in this group, are setting up and looking good. So this is just, when you miss a stock, again, this is one that broke out earlier, and of course this was on our radar very early on. But when you miss a stock, rather than chasing it and rather than buying it extended, it usually pays to kind of wait for another entry. And so while this isn't a classic entry, it is a swing trading entry. So if you want to kind of play a short-term gain, this might be one for your radar.
All right. Well, some good advice to close out the show there today, Justin. Thanks so much for all of your insights. And the insights continue on IBD Live. That's our daily morning live stream for the first hour plus of trade. You can check out more details at investors.com/IBD Live. But we're talking about a lot of these setups in real time.
I think we mentioned all of these today. So, if you wanted these to be on your radar early, and again, someone actually mentioned in the Q&A, how come you guys talk about the same stocks a lot? And it's like, because these are the ones that you should be looking at. So, they give different entry points. So, sometimes, Netflix is, maybe dropping off our radar for a little bit, but then today it comes back on, as it starts looking strong, as it starts bouncing off of its 10-week line. So, you have to kind of be keeping track of the leaders and just finding when those shifts happen and when others start reasserting their leadership.
Yeah, because we're talking about stocks as they're setting up, as they're breaking out, and even as they're running up, they may be extended, but they could be setting up again. So it's always important to really follow through on that front.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.